I'd like to turn it back over to Todd for the Q&A.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kevin. Great job. At this point, if you have any questions, there's actually a chat box, and also right next to it at the top of your screen there will be a question mark that you can put questions into. Tyler, has anybody entered any questions during the webinar?
I do see a question, and it says, you've said lateral movement a few times. Will you define it and explain why it is a risk?
When you have lateral movement in cybersecurity situations, it's just being able to jump from one device to another, or access management being compromised. Usually it can fall like a row of dominoes. So this severely limits that, because each employee in VM will have their own individual set of login credentials. Instead of just having an entire device be compromised, it's just a single user, and you can usually quarantine that much easier. So being able to limit the lateral device movement is much more simple with VM.
This one's more about the pricing model. It says your identity and access and Sure MDM all on one platform. Is this going to be a single login sold as one bundle? Are they going to be priced per device or per user? There just seems like they're trying to get the logistics figured out a bit here.
Definitely, yeah. So both Sure Access and Sure IDP are accessed through the main Sure MDM console. So Sure MDM serves as the main bedrock that these new tools sit on. So Sure Access and Sure IDP are two add-ons that you can do in specific tiers of Sure MDM. When it comes to the pricing of these, Sure MDM and Sure Access are priced by device. So each device has an associated license, and that's just because managing a device, obviously you're just gonna have one license for that, and then managing the access that device has to your network is also associated with the device. However, Sure IDP is priced per user because each user has their own set of credentials. Sure MDM and Sure Access are priced by device. Sure IDP is priced per user.
Got it. Thank you, Kevin. Todd, I'm actually going to direct this one next to you. It's about Redline. It says, Redline originally provided us with Avanti Wavelength Avalanche for managing our mobile devices, and that ended last year, but we're still using it. What's the migration path if we wanted to move on to 42Gears?
Yeah, that's a great question. And they are correct that support for the Avalanche product ended in October of last year. There's actually a migration strategy within 42Gears, and that would be, we would do a proof of concept with you. And in that proof of concept, we'll actually get the devices loaded up with Sure MDM or the other applications. You can test those out. And then if you're ready to move forward with that, then you purchase those licenses. There is a promotion that's been going on for those types of things where you actually get 15 months worth of subscription for the price of 12.
Well, great. I see a question I'm going to direct to Kevin here, because it says, what do you mean by zero trust network access?
Okay, zero trust network access technically it's an old concept. I think it's about 20 years old, but it's only become standardized in the past maybe 5 or 6 years. But what a zero trust network access is, it's a modern cybersecurity model that's based on the principle of never trusting, but always verifying. And this kind of assumes that threats are both existing inside and outside of the network. And instead of trusting users based on their location or things like that, like being, oh, they're inside the office or they're inside warehouse 1, this is continuously authenticating every device and every user and every application. And it's making sure that you only have the minimum access that you need granted in your network. For example, if you're a delivery driver, you're not going to have access on your device to the CRM that the salespeople are using, or the HR software that the HR department's using. You're only going to have access to your specific delivery application on that device.
Got it. Thank you, Kevin. I see a couple more here. I'm going to try to get through them real quick. For Todd, I see one that says, do the rugged mobile devices that you sell from Zebra have cameras for user ID verification?
Good point. On the ID side of things, yes, there is a camera. In fact, most of the devices now have cameras, at least front facing, and some of them even back facing. And where that would be used in the identity side is you might have a barcode that you scan to log in, and then on the identity side, it's going to want to see your face. And so you can actually hold that camera up to your face with the device, look into it, just like you would on a cell phone to unlock it.
Great. Just a Couple more here. I see, Kevin, this one I'm going to send your way. What are the requirements to support my Zebra printer on 42Gears? What do they have to do to get set up with those benefits for Zebra devices?
It's fairly simple. We have a custom built connector with Zebra. We're great partners with a lot of OEMs. And the only two main prerequisites are that you need to have things management enabled in SureMDM. It's just a box you check. And then the Android device that is being paired with the Zebra printer, you need to pair an Android device to the Zebra printer in order for it to work. Because I was speaking about the proxies earlier when we were talking about our IoT management, because a lot of these less than smart devices don't exactly have other routes to connect to SureMDM besides they only have access to things like USB or Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. They're going to need a proxy device. So if you just get any sort of Android device, phone, tablet, handheld, what have you, you're able to use that as a proxy in order to connect it wirelessly to SureMDM.
Great. I see one here that says, we have employees who use our company email and messaging applications. In this case, it seems like they're using Outlook. Is there a way to lock down or remove their access to these applications through your software, or do they have to stick with going to their IT team for this?
Yeah, definitely. So it's the former. With Sherlock, it's a baked-in application in SureMDM on every one of our pricing tiers, so even the standard one. You're able to manually whitelist or blacklist specific applications, and this includes like web apps, specific URLs or domains. And we can set up our fencing capabilities that I mentioned before to only have people be able to access specific apps or domains periodically. So if you want somebody to have access to email between 9 and 5, or if while they're only on site in a specific locality, or if you're specifically connected to an SSID that would grant you access. So there's a lot of conditions that you can set up, but short answer, yes, you can restrict every app, website, domain, everything.
Thank you, Kevin. That sounds pretty useful. I see one last question here. It says, is there a way to test and validate all this on my own network? You've said a lot of stuff sounds great, but are they able to do it on their own side of things?
Yeah, certainly. We'd be more than happy to, we offer a POC solution. And if you guys just want to, you can contact Redline, and then we'd be more than happy to get an engineer set up to go over enrollments, provisioning, and just all the steps that you need to take in order to get your devices set up with SureMDM and VM.
Good. And Tyler, I had one more thing I wanted to add, and that is that one of the areas that we're seeing a big demand for 42Gears, specifically the SureMDM, is that with the new Android devices, they frequently have operating system updates, usually about every 8 months or so. And if you have a large set of devices, that can be a time-consuming process, roughly 10 or 15 minutes per device to cradle it and do that update. With SureMDM, you can actually schedule the update of your OS, the update of your application, et cetera, and have that all pushed out over the air, as opposed to having to have devices at a site with a cradle and do that manually. So with that, I think that wraps us up for today. Thanks for joining us, Kevin. That was a great presentation. Thank you, Tyler, for being our MC. And we look forward to hearing from any of you who have questions about the content today or want to learn more about how you can get started on a POC.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.